What's up, guys? Welcome to Fit Food Radio. This is episode 212, and it's me, Matt Whitmore, and of course,
Me, Keris Martin.
this one,
Mm.
my fiance. One day you'll be my wife, maybe. I don't know.
Or forever the fiance,
Forever,
maybe.
yeah.
Doesn't really make a difference, does it?
It doesn't really,
No.
does it? Whereas,
Legally, slightly.
yeah, I guess, everything else is straight down the middle, isn't it?
Yeah. When you've been together as long as us, it just feels like a marriage anyway, doesn't
Yeah. We always did say though, like, yeah, oh,
it?
God, Um, we always just say though, like if we ever split up, who would get Hamish? Who would
Oh,
get
did you hear the little?
who
Did you
would
hear him
get
moaning?
custody of the dog?
We should stand in the street and walk in opposite directions, and whoever he follows gets Hamish.
Oh, yeah, that'd
I will have like jerky hanging like, out of my pockets and bacon and
be.
sausages.
Who do you love more? It'd have to be really. I think maybe do you know what it'd have to be like every other week. You have him a whole week, I have him a whole
Oh,
week.
yeah.
This whole like few days here, few days there, just would be
He has
weird.
such bad separation anxiety anyway. That would
Yeah.
be awful for him. But there we go.
Oh, bless him.
Anyway.
Yeah. This is one of those like random combos you have, when you're like, what would you do if? It's like it's up there with like, what would you do if you won the
I was
lottery?
going to say the
You know what I
lottery one
mean?
is the main one, isn't it?
It's like you just have all these like these hypotheticals, don't you? Like of like, imagine this scenario. What would you do? What would happen? Um anyway.
What if the world was ending? What if you had a year to live? What
Yeah, yeah, that's the other,
if...
yeah, what if you had a year to live? I'd find that hard to be fair.
What a year to live? Like, what would you do?
Don't know. Probably just keep going. I've only got a year to live. I've only got 364 days to live. I've only got 363 days to
Oh,
live.
God, don't say that.
I'm joking. Yeah, it's a good question though. My brain
I
just
feel I
went,
feel a bit hard done by.
yeah. Yeah. What would I do? Honestly,
You would travel. I always think I would travel, but then the question is that then why don't you travel now?
travel now.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. We often say that, don't we? Yeah, we often say like, if why wait? You know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like, in fact, actually, you just
yeah.
reminded me. Years ago, years and years ago, I did a I was going to start something. This is one of the many things I was going to start, um, but then never really did. Um, distraction. I was going to start like I was going to call it the Why Wait campaign. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, yeah. One of your many ideas.
Oh yeah. Oh,
There's one a week,
I've had many million-dollar ideas, but it's about as far as they got.
I, just
But
just a segue. This is relevant to you. There's a book called Big Magic that she reckons all ideas circulate in the world,
yeah,
and then they drop into your mind when you're like pegging out the washing. Very likely with you to be pegging out the washing as well.
that's true.
And then it's up to you whether you take the idea and run with it. But if you don't, it carries on and it goes to someone else. And then you go online on the internet and go, that was my idea. Because
Yeah,
but
yeah.
she
Oh
believes
yeah,
the ideas are there as like
yeah.
a
You
collective,
stole it.
but like a collective
Phil in
consciousness.
Australia, who I've never met before.
Yeah,
You
because
stole my idea.
because a lot of them are based on problem solving. So everyone around the world is probably thinking, this would be helpful if this is this. And so the idea then comes to you. Do you know what I mean? It's a
Yeah.
collection of energy, drops into you. It's up to you if you do something about it.
It's true though, right? It's like
You must have a very receptive head.
a,
Yeah,
a,
because if you get millions of them.
a receptive. I have a very receptive head,
Yeah.
yes.
What you lack is a actual putting it into action
Yeah.
the next
Oh, hey, I
day.
told you I'm the ideas man.
Yeah.
I need to hire someone to be the action man.
Yeah, you need
Like,
a
I've got an idea.
yeah.
Go and make this happen. Um, but no, but it's an interesting question, isn't it? It's like,
The Why Wait campaign you were talking about.
yeah, because it's like it is why wait? Like if you think about it, it's like well why wait until a bloody doctor has said your days are numbered. You've only got this long to live before you maybe take action on something. Like why wait to lose your job to potentially find your dream job?
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like it's like why why wait until I don't know you have some other kind of a health scare that's maybe not potentially like fatal, but
Do you know
is enough
what?
to scare you into action to exercise more or eat a bit better or whatever. It's almost like if there's something on your radar that you want to do, or you certainly feel that you should be doing, that's going to nurture you, that's going to allow you to be healthier, happier, and whatnot. Like why wait? Like why not action it
Right
now?
now. But I think it's because there's a part of your mind that is always trying to defend the status quo. And this is why change is so hard. And one of the things I help
Mm.
clients to see is like you have a program to stay exactly where you are. So if it's like based on their weight, then they have a program for kind of getting a little bit healthy, then realizing that they were using things like emotional eating to override. So then something uncomfortable happens, or there's a life curveball, and they go straight back to the coping mechanism, food, and, you know, not putting time in for themselves to exercise and do those things. And so right back to square one.
Yeah,
And it's really clever. The mind does this on purpose because also, if you took that away, all of that distraction, like right down underneath it, can be some really difficult things to like understand about yourself, acknowledge, know. And when I work to clients and we kind of peel back the layer in like one, like an onion, one layer, second layer, third layer, there's answers that come out like, actually, I'm so bored. Like I'm
mm.
so bored of my life, or I fear that this is my life for the rest of my life because of my obligations. So it's not about why waiting. It's almost like hiding in waiting, if that makes sense. So you're
Yeah,
hiding out. We did on one of our podcasts, we talked about that shamanic tale of Quetzalcoatl and the snake that stays in the cave because the struggle is easier than the struggle you don't.
yeah.
And around change, so this could be like, I mean, what if you were consistently healthy and got everything together that you thought you needed to do with exercise and nutrition? A huge amount of your distraction is going to go. Do you see what I mean? In terms of for some of us, this is a good chunk of our thoughts across the day.
Hmm.
Exercise, food, not eating too much, eat my nutrients. Depending on where you are, you might be a nutritionist trying to micromanage your vitamins and minerals and detoxification pathways, or you might be a gym bro who's like trying to maximize muscle gain, or just trying to lose weight generally. So you're thinking about calories, macros, not eating too much, second portion. Like it dominates so much of our thinking
Mm.
about being healthy that we forget to ask the question, what are you being healthy for? What are you trying to extend life for? Because a lot of this is about longevity.
Hmm.
But if all you're doing is focusing on that, or lifing, as in like kids, work, there's no you in that equation.
Yeah.
And then I think that's where a lot of self-sabotage comes from. And this is what I often show clients. The self-sabotage is because the self that you've become is just serving
Hmm.
and doing and serving and doing.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because like, we often when working with clients, like we look at the bigger picture, right? It's not about like, oh, what have you eaten today? Oh, why did you eat that? Silly you. Don't do that again. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's, we zoom out and we kind of go, right, okay, what influenced this decision? And like work is a big one. Work is huge. Work stress, work worry, work anxiety, like, being bullied at work, like the list goes on and on and on. Yet the reason people keep showing up to work is obviously, to earn money, to pay bills, to provide for the family, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And I think there's this like small element of hope of like, oh, it will get better. I'm sure it will get better.
Do you
But
know what
but
was also associated with work though? Sorry to interrupt you, is like freedom, because it really impacts our freedom. Because work, and it depends. I think it's not just work, I think it's just obligations in life. Do you know what I mean? So if
yeah.
your obligation is even caring for parents or caring for kids, or
Mm,
you know, I think it's any obligation that you feel there's no way out and there's no end to,
mm,
is and even if there could be an end to it, again, struggle is easier than struggle you don't, isn't it? That's
yeah.
the thing.
Yeah.
But just to bring it back to the work side, I think I had a little thought today. We walked past, me and Hamish, um I got bitten by a dog earlier this year. And what's really interesting about this dog, Milo, is last 2 years ago when I first came to Portugal, he was running around all the fields and he used to follow me every day when I would walk into the village. He'd come with me to the point where he was a lunatic and he'd chase cars and I had to keep
Mm.
ringing his owner, whose name was on the collar. But I loved him and you met him, didn't you? And you're like, what
Yeah.
a lovely dog. Bit full on in that he'd jump all over you and stuff. And when we returned last year to Portugal, he'd been chained up, and it turned out he'd gone and killed a chicken.
Mm.
So his owner chained him up and took away his freedom. And we just watched him turn completely feral, didn't we?
Yeah.
Basically, over the course, just obviously being chained up and having that freedom, then it's taken away. And I got bitten because he jumped the wall and the lead snapped, and he basically came running at me and Hamish, and he was a different dog, wasn't he?
Yeah. Honestly,
Absolutely like vicious and
it's really heartbreaking
yeah,
to see, like considering that we saw him
playful
the year
and
before as the
yeah,
soppiest, most like almost like happy, loving dog, wasn't
yeah.
he?
And I always think about, I think we talked about this before, like, anger is like a really valid human emotion that comes about when you have like boundaries taken. In a way, his boundaries were changed completely
Mm.
from being endless. You can go anywhere you want in life to just suddenly like, no, you have this little tiny walled garden. Your patch of grass is on the other side. So what he would do, it's so sad, is jump the garden wall for the patch of grass to pee on. But that almost throttled him, didn't it? And
Mm.
eventually he just got more and more vicious with that kind of experience of restriction, control. And then when he did break free that day, basically came at me and sunk his teeth into my leg. And it was a really interesting situation because I went from being petrified as he ran at us, like teeth baring and everything. When he bit me, I remember feeling this fucking anger where I was like, well, obviously you would, but like
Yeah.
he crossed a boundary. He went into my subcutaneous my
Yeah.
flesh.
Yeah.
But the anger that came was a bit like it was like an anger for him. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I was angry that he's been treated that way. But if I didn't express my anger in that moment, we were screwed, me and Hamish. And actually, once he bit me, I kind of like rose up and screamed at him, and he ran off. Like he kind of got stunned by the change in me, and then he ran off. But it's really interesting because, like, I just think it's such a part of our, humanity is to have this element of like flexibility, freedom, fluidity. And if that's taken away, and it's often taken away in a work situation, and if we can't express anger, especially if it's really hard because we depend on the income of that job, do you see what I mean? We
Mm.
start we start behaving in a way that's really not us, and we start like leaky, get the leaky boundaries. We start doing more than we should, people pleasing,
Mm.
and that will come out in comfort eating or overtraining or somewhere else because we need a coping mechanism to deal with the fact we're not being true to ourselves.
Yeah. Are you done?
Yes,
All right.
long story about a dog.
No, no, not
Dogs
at
are
all.
amazing though, because dogs only know their true emotions, and
I
that's
know.
why I think it's really powerful.
Do you
Like,
know what? Like, without going off on too much of a tangent, I am going to finish my point.
oh, sorry.
But but like last night, so I've been having a really bad run of sleep, and last night was another bad night, and I could just hear Hamish like snoring away.
Oh,
And I remember it occurred to me, I thought like, do you think dogs get insomnia? Do you think even it exists in animals?
no, but they have like their nervous systems are kind of wired for, am I in danger? Do you see what I
But
mean?
it's like there's
Yeah,
me
so he
laying
will
there
fake it
going,
instantly.
fuck's sake, another bad night,
Yeah,
wide
yeah, yeah.
awake, blah blah blah. Try my best to like, breathe, calm my brain, like blah blah blah, all the usual stuff. But it's like I bet these thoughts don't even enter
Yeah, but
animals' heads. Like, oh God,
but that's because they don't
another
have
no,
like
no, no, no,
cortical function.
another
So,
bad night.
but it's a really
Bloody
good.
bloody full
It's
moons.
a good, yeah, it's a good point because animals don't have cortical function, so they only have the part of the brain that responds to kind of connects with the body, and it's like they know primary emotions, raw emotions. So Hamish knows like you can tell when he's happy, you can tell when he's a little bit sad. Like you see dogs grieve, don't you, and
Mm.
mourn loss. You know when he's angry, when he's like high alert, hungry. And so they're guided by those emotions. And they do have, I believe at first I thought they didn't have any secondary emotions, but I think they have some secondary emotions slash feelings because he gets, for example, separation anxiety. So
Yeah.
that's a slight interpretation of a situation, but they don't have the same cortical function, like the largest part of our brain, the neocortex, the prefrontal cortex, is where we create meaning around everything. And that's the problem. So we create
Mm.
meaning where there's no meaning. We create meaning that just keeps going and going and going. And it's also, at the very beginning, I was going to say, one of the biggest problems for most of us right now is we have so many clauses and conditions for how we feel. So we have conditions and clauses for happiness, conditions and clauses for sadness, conditions and clauses for success, failure. Do you see what I mean?
Mm.
So
Yeah,
we're constantly using factors we can't control to determine how we feel. And this is why the kind of real objective, I can't say goal because you're not even really supposed to have goals if you're looking at pure Zen or mindfulness or, kind of all the great philosophers said is to ditch all of this meaning and ditch all of these clauses. So,
yeah,
and this is where you're happy whether you have no money or some money, so
yeah,
you don't let things determine you. And it's just so hard because we're in a society that is nothing but consumerism, materialistic kind of drive and distraction.
yeah,
So no one ever gets there. Do you know what I mean? I,
yeah,
I mean, it's like I try in terms of like all the meditation and so situations are now happening, and it's like this constant reframing of you don't need to do anything about that. You don't need to change that. You can't control that. You just need to allow it. You need to feel it viscerally. You need to feel it, um, kind of integrate all those emotions and sensations, and then you can process it and you can let it go and not ruminate on it for the next 10, 20 years. You know
yeah.
what I mean? And it's really hard. And that's a,
Do you know why I'm laughing? It's because, like, and sometimes, like, you ask a question,
yeah,
and I was like, oh, do you think dogs have insomnia?
yeah.
It's like, you're one of the people that actually has an answer for
For
such questions.
it.
You
Are
know,
you
you,
expecting
you,
me to go,
you think it's going to be just a like, do you think dogs get insomnia? Oh, good question. Never really thought about that. And
well,
then you move on, whereas you're like, well, actually, no,
well, do
they
you know?
don't,
Do
because
you know what?
their frontal vortex.
Vortex. That's your problem, your vortex. But what I was about to say is the biggest cause of sleep disruption and issues is often everyone puts it down to menopause or, you know, blah, blah, blah. And of course, like caffeine, overtraining, all these things, work stress, and we know they cause sleep disruption, insomnia. And yes, there's changes with menopause, but the biggest problem is usually your perception of the sleep disruption, number one.
Hmm.
And secondly, you've gone through the whole day, absorbed a ton of experiences and, you know, situations, and you've thought about it a lot, but you haven't experienced it viscerally, emotionally.
Hmm.
So someone pissed you off, but you couldn't say anything about that. So you pushed that down. You got frustrated, but you live with that person. So you pushed that down. Maybe you snipped at them. Who knows? Do you see what I mean? The dog pissed you off, but it doesn't matter how many. And so what happens is then you go to bed and part of your conscious mind goes offline. And then there's all this stuff that we didn't process across the day that can come
Yeah.
up. But maybe you've had something ticking away for a few months, a few years, and a few decades. And so this is where, like, obviously my experiences was all my symptoms would come up at the end of the day. I could almost go through the day and feel pretty normal. And then the minute I stopped and I kind of was like, oh, this has got to be linked to hormones. Like as my cortisol comes down, my stomach turns into a disaster. But is it actually that you're in that kind of like freeze gripping state in the day, just kind of like, fending off life and doing and doing and doing? And in a state of upregulated nervous system, and then at night when you're kind of trying to bring it back down, or literally it's exhausted and your kind of waking hormones are coming down, but also your conscious mind is going offline. It's like the body goes, here's a serving of this.
Hmm.
And we can't always make sense of what comes up, but I think with that insomnia, that broken sleep, I'd like to try and encourage everyone now to see any symptom as an email from your body about something that you're not aware of, observing, or experiencing. And sometimes I think it's like, but you're in denial. Sometimes you 100% don't know. And so it's kind of important to do some processes. And we actually have had a few crosswords today because I've been nagging you and saying, I can see you're stressed about some things. I think everyone's quite stressed about the world right now and the way that business is changing and communication and social media. But I think if you spent a bit of time on your own doing a bit of kind of introversion and interoception, you would understand that you can't control those things, but you could stay aligned with what you believe is true and necessary, and you could
Mm,
take steps in that direction. If we don't do that, then we're constantly in the external world all day, and that's when the conflict comes up at night with sleep disruption, because it's like you're moving further away from your internal compass
mhm,
and you're being drawn more into Instagram or YouTube or this external world. And internally, we have all the kind of answers and wisdom, and our emotions are really wise and they are physiological. They're not from the mind, they're from the body. So, like Hamish acts from his true need, if that makes sense, to defend himself, to be hungry, to want love, to connection. So, it all comes from the body,
mhm,
the wiser part, and we are disconnecting. We're like neck up all the time, and that connection comes back with practices like meditation, yoga nidra, body scans we talked about, guided emotional processing sessions, because your conscious mind will fight you to not feel those things and stay safe in the external world, stay safe in how you look, stay safe in your materialistic accumulation. Do you know what I mean? There's ways that will secure safety through those means, and our mind protects that. But deep down, and I think this is why people are, I don't know why I'm doing this.
mhm.
I'm literally harming myself in some way, be that overeating, smoking, drinking, spending too much money, just
Yeah.
being saying yes when you want to say no. Like it's all my micro versions of self-harm because
Mhm.
you kind of feel exhausted at the end of the day, like you put someone before yourself. And that's one of the reasons why.
Why what?
Why
What?
why dogs don't get
What?
insomnia.
What we're talking about again?
Yeah. But the reason but dogs don't do that. Do you see what I mean? They don't overthink.
No,
They
no, you're
don't
right.
they
You're
don't
right.
they don't
It's
create meaning. They don't, I've said to you when Hamish trips over, I get embarrassed for him. Dogs don't do embarrassment. Like he
that's
doesn't get
mad.
embarrassed. That's a remember in Inside Out 2, which we recommend everyone watch the film, the Disney film.
Yeah,
So she goes Inside Out 1 is the child, and she's
yeah.
mainly got her core emotions. And then as a teenager, she gets these secondary emotions slash feelings. There's quite a lot of debate about what to call them, but they're these secondary elements that come in to keep you safe in society. They're not about survival. Like embarrassment doesn't help us survive. Do you know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah.
So it's about, and what's really interesting actually is sometimes I've had dreams that I'm going to die, and then I get embarrassed about how I'm going to die because I'm like, well, this is a bit embarrassing. Do you remember when I nearly choked on a supplement, magnesium, and I said to you, how
Yeah.
embarrassing would that be? Like
Nutritionist dies taking
a
a
magnesium tablet.
taking a magnesium tablet.
How healthy was that?
Yeah.
But like that's how our persona and what society thinks of us becomes way more important than our basic human need. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah.
So dogs don't have embarrassment because it doesn't serve them.
Oh, to be a dog.
You
To
did
be
say
a
that.
dog.
I'm sure you
Um,
said that today.
I did actually. Yeah, just seeing Hamish
What
like
he went, I want to
tr
be a dog.
trotting along.
No, it was last night. He was carrying a pine cone home.
Oh
He was so
yeah,
proud of
just looked so
himself.
happy, didn't he? Bless him. But
That's something I can't help you with. I'm sorry.
yeah, maybe in my next life, come back as a dog.
However, if you wanted to be more dog, then you would do more connection with emotions, which is done through things like yoga nidras and feeling emotions.
Okay.
And as a man,
I'll just stop working,
become a monk.
just lay around all day,
You could be like,
go for the
you
odd
said not to
walk.
worry about money. You said
Yeah.
to be
Yeah,
happy
exactly.
without
You
money.
said to be more dog. Right. Do you see Hamish writing training plans?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Doing client check-ins. No, but what I was going to say was about like the whole work thing is like kind of like tying in with the why weight thing as well here is like we have all these if someone's clearly unhappy at work, and they can list off all these things why work makes them stressed, anxious, why it has like a negative knock-on effect to other aspects of their life, such as the food choices they make, their quality of sleep, and then the knock-on effect for that is like energy levels, exercise, etc. But they'll say, oh, but I don't really have the time at the moment to look for jobs, or I haven't really got the headspace to even fathom trying to learn
A new
a,
job.
a new job or a new role or whatever it might be. Um, oh, but actually, but I do get on really well with some of my team, or oh, I'll be letting X, Y, and Z down if I leave. You know, you,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's all these reasons, and we create these attachments. But the reality is like what would you do if you got fired next week? Like the company went bump,
Yeah,
or they're making redundancies and you're gone.
yeah, yeah,
Like all of a sudden, all these reasons why you're sticking around in something that isn't serving you beyond paying you,
yeah, yeah,
like all of a sudden it's irrelevant. None of it matters because you ain't got a job there anymore. And I think like this is almost like a big thing in the decision making process, especially with big decisions. Because look, I know that like just changing job isn't a small decision. Just don't just go, oh, I'm going to get a new job. This one sucks. Bish bash bosh. Job done. I mean, that said, we do know some people that seem to just be able to get a job
and
like the click of the fingers. You know what I mean? And it works out. But then I suppose on the flip side, you could say maybe it could be that simple. But um, I think with like you mentioned earlier, the clauses, it's like, oh, once this is over with, I'll have more time and I can look for jobs then. Or, when things settle down with like this deadline at work, then I'll be able to start looking because blah. Like,
well, there'd be like a couple of ways that you could approach this. And like, so just thinking when I was offered a role, because I was like, a lot of my stress has been self-employed because it's kind of, you're doing so many different elements of a business that maybe you don't feel competent with. Yeah.
yeah,
So we had a chat and I was offered a role and it was really good. I couldn't have manifested better in terms of the topic and the remuneration and the benefits and everything, and got to have my own team which I was able to employ. So it all starts off like hunky-dory, and then there's a big conflict within the business that becomes quite apparent in terms of AI on the horizon,
yeah.
and like internal politics between different departments. And so suddenly I'm not doing anything of what I love. I'm just constantly like trying to defend myself, like day in, day out. And we saw like you were amazing in this situation in terms of like grounding me and helping me like understand and see the bigger picture. Again, I think it's different when you're working virtually with people. You can create this huge story around situations that aren't true. That was definitely something I took away, that I was creating a bigger drama about micro things, and then kind of going, your mind is in a fear state, so you're fast forwarding and you're very suspicious. And like I was definitely in like hypervigilance, do you know what I mean? I was like waiting for the next attack, and they did come. And I think I had a long like chat with you about it, where it's like there's so many things that you can tick off here, but ultimately it's going to affect my health. I need to go. And I think I made the decision one day when another like bomb went off, and I was like, I just can't do this. But to anyone out there in this situation and just generally kind of thinking about your life, is the first thing that we can actually start to do, and if I'd known this back then I would have done this, is you can start to do a little bit of kind of self work and mind body work. I actually had a CBT therapist at the time, and she was great in terms of helping me reframe. But I think since then I've gone a lot further with that type of work and understanding that a lot of great therapy or talking therapy or mind body, kind of somatic bodywork therapy, by that I mean like breath work or somatic experiencing, should be about teaching you that you have all the answers
Mhm.
and allowing you to understand how to access that. Whereas what we're kind of used to doing is constantly contracting out to someone else to tell us, or to help us tell us what to do, or to help us understand what to do, or to keep us accountable. Like we don't trust ourselves. And so I think one of the first things you can do if you're in a situation, this could be a job, a relationship, even as a parent, you're like, oh, this was a mistake. I am not designed to do this. I've seen this very frequently with clients. Is that, first of all, you do that internal piece to understand a little bit of the why and what is going on with the situation, and get that mind body connection back. So emotions are the language of the body. The thoughts, feelings, and interpretations of the language of the mind. So get all of that back and looping. Have practices like meditation and yoga nidras to be able to process, and then practice letting the clauses go. And actually, maybe the job is fine. It's
Yeah.
you that's creating the story, and the story is getting so powerful, it's affecting your health. But if I could have gone into that and just gone, as long as I protect my boundary and I don't overwork, I can see that person there and all their kind of egoic nature and the fact they're a total prick, whatever, but I don't let it affect me. And it's not denial. Do you know what I mean? It's more like it's just a boundary. And
Mm.
I'm just like, you don't define me. You can criticize me. You can think I'm this. You can try and trigger my ability to want to work really hard for you. But if I can maintain my limits and my understanding and kind of like it is like Yodaing it out, basically. You sit there like Yoda and Luke Skywalker's going, but what about this? But what about this? But what about this? And you're like, yeah, yeah. Do you know what I mean? And so
Mm.
it's that absolute neutrality to the opinion of the people who are causing you to fall into these cycles, and that can be your partner. So it might be that you're like incredible, so it's not you, but
Yeah.
say you were constantly gaslighting me about my, I don't know, the messy house or the chores or my emotional state. Or so previously I've definitely been in relationships where I have been criticized, for example, for being healthy, like constantly, like, oh, all this, and there was some truth in it. Maybe I was definitely obsessive compulsive at times, but obviously some of it was like a projection because they didn't like that I was healthy and they weren't. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you can see that situation, you don't need to do anything about it. You don't need to change it. You can feel quietly confident if you're in that connected state. I'm all good, thanks. I
Yeah.
don't need this kind of criticism of you, but the boundary is just so powerful. And then if something is meant to change, you might do this for like, don't even give yourself a time frame, because I've been doing it for months and months and it's still taking it takes a lot of focus for me to not fall into old patterns and my ego going, you need to do something about that. You need to sort that out. That person doesn't like you. Try and shapeshift,
Yeah.
try and please. So to get better at that situation, it's like it's the hardest training I think I've ever done. Like give me deadlifts and kettlebells over this any day, a million push-ups or pull-ups, because this is something that every part of your day there's something to react to,
Yeah.
and seeing it and understanding it and responding and allowing it instead is tricky. But then you might decide, when you're in that connected state, internal compass is back online, I shouldn't really live here, I shouldn't be working here, this is the wrong relationship.
Mm.
Obviously if you've had kids it's a bit hard. You all need to leave.
Yeah.
Kids like 7, what? But yeah, what I was about to say is it's doing the work on yourself first, because what you'll also find is your mind tries to blame everything outside of you, yet the mind is reacting to everything outside of you. So you're in that, it's just never going to change. It's just looping all the time.
Yeah. That's it's quite thought-provoking that.
In what way?
Well, no,
It
because
shouldn't be thought provoking, it should be emotion.
oh, shut up. Like
Emotion connecting.
you know when you think like, because on the one hand you might think, oh, if you're unhappy in your job, find a new one. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
and it's always like we've said before, it's like, well, that's assuming that the next job's going to be better.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like you're gonna love all of your co-workers, your boss is gonna be amazing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And but there is no guarantee of that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think I might be like going off on a bit of a tangent here, but we often talk about like distraction. Like you seek distraction. And maybe, looking for a different job is just a distraction. Maybe looking for a different area to live is just a distraction. You know what I mean? Rather than going, actually, like, what if I faced this a bit more and kind of sat with what the hell was going on a bit more? Then maybe, like you said, it's not so bad. Maybe I've just created like a bit of a mountain out of a molehill here, which
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is easily done, by the way. Like, we all do it to some degree, and it kind of needs someone else to go, like, it's not as big of a deal as you're making it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that's just your interpretation of it that you've maybe allowed to kind of snowball a little bit. to become this bigger thing. And interestingly, I'm going to share a story, right? I think it's relevant. It'll be relevant in some way, shape or form, but maybe it's off the mark.
Go on.
But I've started,
What's
so I'll finish. So I shared this yesterday in our with our 12-month transformation crew because a big thing that we want like our clients to focus on is, facing some uncomfortable things. You know what I mean? Like, and actually like kind of sitting with how it makes them feel rather than always seeking a distraction, a deflection, or and trying to run away from it. And I gave the example of when we first moved to Tunbridge Wells and we were like, it was like a row of terraced houses. And at the very end of the terrace was just a little cat, just cotching, just sitting there. And then Hamish clocks the cat and then goes running after it. He does that thing where he's like, row, 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 starts running towards it. This cat didn't even budge, didn't even flinch, just looked at Hamish just to say, pipe down, mate. Like, what's all the fuss about? And as a result, Hamish got running up to this cat who didn't run, which obviously Hamish wasn't expecting. Kind of got to the cat and was a bit like, oh, you're not going to run. I can't chase you if you don't run. There's
Yeah,
no there's
yeah.
no fun in this for me. And Hamish just walked off. And then the neighbor who we were speaking to says, "Oh, that cat lives with two dogs." Like to the cat, like dogs aren't a danger.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She
It's
just
like
thinks it's
exposure.
yeah, it's another dog. And then I think after that, Hamish maybe gave chase once or two times more, but then
There's
just
no reaction.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just completely lost interest. And from that point on, like Hamish, like didn't chase cats. It wasn't just that cat; it was just cats generally. It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, it's not the fun that it used to be.
Yeah, yeah.
You
And to be
know,
fair, we had another neighbour, do you remember, who had a cat that they used to meet on the doorstep and it
yeah,
wiped him twice. And then Hamish now knows that you approach a cat slowly,
yeah,
you spin the tail, and you go for a little kiss,
engage,
go for a
yeah,
little kiss. And if they swipe, he wanders off. He's like, nope, they're not having it.
yeah,
And so everyone says, how did you train him to do that? And we're like, we didn't. Like he
yeah.
just got clouted and
He learned,
learned his lesson.
he learned the hard way.
But they're both amazing examples because I think what I wasn't explaining very well and you did was that if you can Yoda the storm, there is no storm. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
Because if you can go into this with absolute neutrality, which is really hard, and take the meaning away from everything. And again, in meditation class, we take this right down to my teacher Sam is like, that's an object, that's an object, that's an object. And I'm like, oh God, man, that is so hard to do.
yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
like it's object, object, object. And even meditation should not have a purpose. You're not trying to find peace, you're not trying to fix a problem. You are literally just sitting in everything and
mm,
everything is everything and that is it and that is it. And a little one of the members, her little daughter joins us and she gets it straight away because she's not a meaning making machine.
yeah,
And she sits there and it's so sweet because she'll ask a question and she'll go, so everything's just an object then, so we don't need to think about it a lot, do we? And everyone just is like, how is it so easy for
yeah.
kids to get this? Like we're all like,
Give
but
give her time. She'll be just as messed up as the rest of us.
give a few seconds. Life's got a shit all over you
Let her
first.
let her enjoy this while
Bliss.
she's still got it.
And there was an interesting discussion about kids learning meditation because actually someone did say, but I think their egos need to come into this world and have some experiences first. I think it depends. Like there's lots of things that, if you have some childhood trauma, it already gets dysregulated to some degree. The system's dysregulated, the emotions are dysregulated. But with other kids, is it too quick to learn about like your persona that you're developing for society about, being good at sports or school or funny or, like the archetypes Carl Jung talks about, like all your personality traits, we
Mm,
can get lost in them and they become a mask rather than because they got a lot of validation rather than just being ourselves and be ready to upset people, offend people not like us, not be part of the popular crowd or activity that's going on if we don't truly like it. And so this is how we do lose that kind of authenticity. But just to bring it back to the animals, another great kind of psychologist who talks about this is Yak Pansep, and he does a YouTube talk, and it's quite old now, but it still is relevant on how you should watch animals to understand emotions. because he was saying that as well as they don't have the cortical function that we have, you know, they're not reading, writing, and discussing like
Mm,
philosophy or whatever, but they do have emotions and kind of secondary feelings that where they interpret it. But what he talks about is all the circuits that are very similar to animals. And one is like the dopamine circuit, which is like how we experience reward. So, you know, reward for us, we get motivated by, for example, food because it would have helped us to survive. So the
mm,
reward circuit is a survival mechanism that means that we can basically obviously get food, get water, procreate, you know, like look after ourselves and obtain stuff, you know,
mm,
accumulate stuff that brings us safety. And one of the things he links this to is enthusiasm. And so what I think happens is also the fact that people really rely on just like dopamine chasing because they don't actually know what else they're here for. There's no enthusiasm for just life.
yeah.
So it's almost like we have to have these micro hits of dopamine. And that's why if you break up your day, I did this recently, how much of your day is not based on doing something? That means you're ticking it off. Now, whether it's an obligation that you've got to tick off or something like, I don't know, I observe, for example, I have lots of hot drinks all the time. It's like a little thing that I just need. You're the same with coffee.
Yeah.
And you could argue it's an association, but when you're on like cup number six, that's not an association of
No.
like I work. It's becoming a little fix.
Yeah, and it's definitely like an attachment I've created, like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
in terms of like, you know, when I'm working or I'm doing a particular task, it's like, oh, you know, I'll put the kettle on, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
I'll
yeah.
make a brew. Like,
Scrolling is another one.
yeah,
Or
scrolling's the
planning.
worst.
Planning. So like when work is really boring, fire up booking.com. Do you know what I mean? And
Mm.
like dangle a carrot. So we always we need something to look forward to all the time. Dinner, lunch, you know.
Mine's looking for cars at the minute.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, that is a bit of a necessity though,
Yeah, it is.
because
Our
one,
car's broke down again.
one's broke down, the other one's on the cusp
Of breaking
of
down.
breaking down at any point. So it's like, okay. Do you know what's nice though, actually, is out here, like, you know, you're talking about like ego and almost
I think we
like,
mentioned this on the last one. You were
yeah,
saying
like,
about everyone's driving 20, 30-year-old cars.
yeah,
Yeah.
it just makes me laugh. Like out here, like you just whatever, like you just still see these like ancient cars. And it's
You
like,
you definitely
it's
transcended
nice.
transcended ego this morning wearing Crocs and socks on the walk as well.
How rude. Luckily, I'm secure enough not to care.
That's good.
Thank you very
But
much.
just what's really interesting is I know you're wearing the socks because you've got blisters
Mm.
from flip-flops. But what's interesting is that is the sort of suffering that we put up with. Like I'd rather have the blisters than be seen in
Not
Crocs and
me.
socks.
Not me.
You're such a role model.
That's it.
But
You know, it's all about practicality. It's like, women have like absolutely battered their feet for years
yeah,
to
yeah,
wear
yeah,
them heels.
yeah.
Hey,
The pain, the
you
suffering.
know, you got these mash up feet. For what?
If
For what?
you had a year to live, you'd regret
Yeah, you wouldn't be wearing high
that.
heels. I know that. That's for sure.
But it is a good question. If you had a year to live, like when we think about the worrying side of stuff, I think that's really powerful because this is where image, body image, aging, grey hair, all that stuff comes in. Um, you know, I said to you, like I've read some really interesting posts recently about um, you know, kind of mindset and emotions and I was just reading some discussion about medications on all of this, and someone said, why are there I think there's 524 drugs for baldness. But there's areas of like where medication is just not even explored or available. Like so many conditions are untreatable, but if we dedicated the same amount of research to it, it would be. This is like a discussion I was reading in Reddit, and it, it's because it's about image, isn't it? It's so crazy, the baldness thing.
Oh
Just
yeah, I think yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure that like I read a statistic once that going bald is like one of the it is the top kind of like male concern,
yeah, yeah.
in terms of like appearance. Not, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, going bald.
I reckon we'll be able to have, I know we can do hair transplants, but I reckon we'll get to a point of being able to like sprinkle some seeds on a head and they grow because we've advanced technology that much before we even solve long COVID. because there's that much money to be made in it. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Like,
that is a big influence, isn't it? It's like
or you could have hologram hair. Can you imagine that?
just like virtual reality hair.
Yeah.
I mean, that just change your
Or do you imagine if the world,
change your hairdo every day.
if the world, we can develop these glasses where everyone looks amazing and then it doesn't matter what we do. But that would be interesting. Would you even do those things anymore? As in, like, would you even be bothered? Would you actually be the healthiest you've ever been because you're not over focusing on it and you just look amazing in these glasses that everyone wears?
Oh, I don't want to be alive when that shit happens. Thank you very much. I want that to be like way after my time.
Surely, though,
It's not
people are
for me.
behind the scenes thinking, how do I solve this problem of X, Y, Z? I mean, this is where the weight loss injection is coming, isn't it? And we're not really truly sure of the outcomes of it and the side
I know.
effects and the long-term use.
And it's scary. Yeah, that I mean, we won't go into it right now, but yeah, it's crazy to me. Like again, it just shows you the power of aesthetics and body image and things like that, the risks people are willing to take
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the hope that it's going to make them slimmer and reverse bloody aging and all of that malarkey. Yeah.
I think the thing just to again, we've said like we completely support. We have clients who take this, but one of the things that we really urge everyone to do is try to find it. There's a root cause for that situation, and it's not a and if you're and I know some of the providers of the medications are doing these like year-long or 2-year-long programs, and I think that's really helpful because I think most of the people that I work with that are taking the injection, they already have this underlying fear, like in concern,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
don't want to create the dependency, but don't trust themselves without the medication at
Sure.
this point. So one of the things that we're working on is what's the cause of that change in your relationship with food, self, exercise, but
Mhm.
half of it is because there is no self anymore. So again, that comes back to this like constant soothing and emotional regulation through eating. And then of course lost in the guilt and shame. So there's
Yeah.
nowhere that you need to be. Like there's no you in any of that situation. It's just this entire storm of distraction.
100%, 100%. And it's like we always say, it's like, if when someone's, like gradually gained weight over, a certain period of time, the reality is like no one just consciously woke up one day and was like, you know what, I'm just going to start getting fat. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm gonna go out of my way to just eat too much,
yeah.
move a bit less, and gain weight. At a steady pace over the next handful of years. And I know that's such an obvious thing to say, but the reality is like, like there's reasons why people have gained weight. And like I said, it wasn't a conscious choice.
No,
There's other contributing factors, and this is a big part of what we do is like we dissect it and go like, right, okay, what caused this and then what caused that, like
yeah.
where are the knock-on effects, and then how can we interrupt it,
But
like
what's quite interesting as well is the mind is so clever that often clients report to me and say, I'm just I just have no off switch with food. I'm just
mm,
really greedy. I'm just really lazy. And it's like the human body is none of those things. And whilst we have traits, which can definitely be changed as well, there is an element to which the mind is saying this to almost, we've said this, like it's like hypnotherapy, like keep you exactly where you are, keeping you believing like these limited beliefs that you can't change. But I think it's also really interesting that is also a sign of totally lost your identity because you're not any of those things, but that your belief in that you are is overriding the whole situation, and so causes this huge amount of doubt. And so I've actually said, to our groups, especially the long-term clients, put doubt in the sidecar. It's coming with us. Like we
mm,
don't even need to think about any of that yet. We just need to work through a process of seeing the programs that your mind runs, starting to, as you said, like deconstruct them, starting to see where did they come from, how have they served me, what are they trying to achieve, how is this like conscious part of my mind trying to stop me from changing. And if we can break that down and see it first,
mhm.
and then gradually we delete that program,
Yeah.
and we'll delete it and we update it with the one that's aligned with your values. And that is when, as I said, further down the line there may be greater changes where you're like, oh, I'm in the wrong job, wrong relationship, wrong location, I want other things. But at first, whenever I sit down with a client, I'm actually usually speaking to that part of their mind,
Mm.
the where the ego is, where the conscious mind, the stronger bit, the bit that's like resistant to everything. And what's interesting is some of some clients pay us and don't turn up for sessions or hide and don't reply, and that's resistance, and that's that conscious part of the mind going, I can't do this, I can't
Yeah,
reply, I've let Keris and Matt down, and we often come back and say, this is not about us, like
that's the big one, isn't it?
I've let you down. I'm like,
Yeah, it's
there's no such
honestly,
thing.
I've, I've I've lost count of how many clients are like, I feel almost feel ashamed. I feel like I've really let you
Yeah,
down.
no
It's
one lets
like, God,
anyone down.
no,
Yeah.
no, not at all.
It's and I say turn up messy, turn up failing, turn up with nothing, and we're there because you've got
Yeah,
nothing to lose, and we're
yeah,
there and we can work from that place and we can
exactly.
keep going, and then there's
Just
no
turn up with your clothes on. That'd be weird.
yeah,
No,
yeah, yeah, with nothing.
no naked Zooms. Thank you very much. We're not there yet.
No, not yet.
Can you imagine?
You just turning up in Crocs and socks. Oh,
Oh, well, I'll tell you what,
oh,
I will tell the story one time because I think enough years have passed about a client who I went to train at their house.
oh, eh?
And I'm gonna leave you on that cliffhanger,
Okay.
considering we were just
Tune
talking
in for the
about
next episode.
clients showing up naked
Oh yeah.
and me going to a client's house.
Oh,
So there you go.
okay.
That's for next time.
With bated breath.
Before we dash, have you got something going on next week you'd like to share
Oh, we do, yeah,
with
yeah. Sorry. I was like, oh God, what have I got going
the
on?
people?
I have a free body image webinar going on,
Yeah.
which is kind of using some of the principles we've talked about just to help you understand how you're developing programs around this. It's a big factor in perimenopause and menopause. Many clients get in touch with me and say, like, ever since menopause, this, that, waistline, bloating, water retention. And a big part of it is also this resistance to change in our bodies and our perception of our body.
Mm.
So I'm going to be using some of the mind body techniques I've used for all sorts of things, emotional eating and illness, to actually apply it to body image, which again was a subject that reared up for me with illness because I kept losing weight and then having to gain it again, and it became a disruptor and then something that was like dominating my thoughts. I was like, that's interesting. So I use some of the mind body
When is it?
techniques. So it's Wednesday, where are we? 17th of July, 7 p.m. You can go to fitfood.com to register or head to my Keris Smiles and Nutrition Instagram
Yeah.
and register there. And it's
Sounds
free
it's for free.
for free.
Um, Exciting.
Free me then. I was like, oh,
Yeah, you're like, what is going on? What is going on? We always forget to mention these
we
things
do,
though,
we
don't we?
do.
And
Just
then
follow us on
and then Lynn
Instagram.
always tells us off.
Yeah, follow
She's
us on
like, you didn't
Instagram as
mention the
well and
thing.
Facebook,
Yeah.
and I don't know where else we are.
But
Email. Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us, guys. Hope you got something from that. It's like we always say, if you just come with a little something,
Little light bulb.
all is good in the hood. But big love to you wherever you are in the world. Have a belter, and we'll see you in the next
Bye bye.
one. See ya.